Once upon a time, a local Coca-Cola bottling plant was located in a small town surrounded by dense forests. The city has always been proud of its connection with the famous beverage company, and the factory has been a source of jobs for many generations. However, a dark and frightening presence was about to invade the cheerful world of Coca-Cola. It all started on a stormy night, with thunder rumbling and lightning flashes lighting up the sky. At exactly midnight, lightning struck a giant Coca-Cola billboard near the bottling plant. The large-scale advertisement depicted the company's iconic mascot, a cheerful polar bear sipping a refreshing Coca-Cola. Unbeknownst to the residents of the city, something sinister has awakened in the talisman. When the lightning passed through his fiberglass frame, the evil force penetrated into the soul of the polar bear. The once cheerful talisman became obsessed with the essence of darkness. The next day, the workers arrived at the bottling plant, completely unaware of the paranormal presence that lurked inside the beloved mascot. When they started their usual duties, they noticed that a strange silence had settled over the institution. The air was heavy, and an unsettling energy filled the corridors. One by one, the workers began to report strange events. Coca-Cola bottles were mysteriously broken, spilling their sweet contents all over the factory. The equipment failed, which led to accidents and injuries. Employees whispered that an invisible force was stalking the factory, blaming the cursed talisman for this. Rumors spread through the city like wildfire, and soon everyone was talking about the mascot that Coca-Cola owns. Superstitious townspeople avoided the bottling plant, fearing a malicious presence living there. But some curious people dared to go inside, driven by the desire for thrills and the truth underlying the dark legend. One fateful night, a group of brave teenagers decided to explore the bottling plant on their own. Armed with flashlights and their irrepressible curiosity, they made their way through the dark corridors, hoping to catch some evidence of the supernatural. When they delved into the study of the plant, the temperature dropped sharply. Their breath turned into icy steam, and the air crackled with unholy energy. Suddenly, there was a loud crash in the factory, and the teenagers froze in horror. They cautiously followed the noise into a dimly lit storeroom. Inside they found the Coca-Cola mascot, his once friendly smile turned into an evil grin. The white bear's eyes shone with an otherworldly light, as if he was possessed by the very essence of darkness. The teenagers felt a wave of horror sweep through their veins when they realized that they had been disturbed by an ancient evil. With an icy roar, the talisman charged at the teenagers, its razor-sharp claws tearing the air. The teenagers scattered, desperately trying to escape from the wrath of the possessed creature. But the talisman was relentless, chasing them through the labyrinthine corridors of the bottling plant. One by one, frightened teenagers became victims of the incessant pursuit of the Coca-Cola mascot. Their screams echoed through the factory, an eerie symphony merging with the distant hum of cars. Days turned into weeks, and the city remained surrounded by fear. The possessed talisman wandered around the bottling plant, his distorted presence felt by everyone who dared to approach him. The once thriving Coca-Cola factory was now abandoned, which became a symbol of the darkness that engulfed it. Legend has it that the Coca-Cola mascot still haunts the city to this day. Some claim to see his dark figure hiding in the woods, while others swear they hear his evil laughter carried by the wind. The signature serves as a warning, reminding that even the most innocent symbols can be distorted by evil forces. So if you ever find yourself in a small town surrounded by dense forests and stumble upon an abandoned Coca-Cola bottling plant, be careful. Because the possessed Coca-Cola mascot may still be hiding, waiting to take the souls of those stupid enough to cross his.
Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by mystery, there was a cursed bottle of Coca-Cola, from which everyone who came across it shuddered. Legends whispered that the bottle was inhabited by an evil spirit who wanted to take revenge on those who dared to eat its contents. It's a creepy story about a damned bottle of Coca-Cola. In the very center of the city stood an old dilapidated mansion, abandoned for decades. It was said that a wealthy family once lived here, but they were struck by tragedy when their youngest son Benjamin fell victim to a mysterious illness. Desperate to save him, the family turned to black magic, but their attempts only spawned an evil presence that haunted the estate. Years later, a group of curious teenagers went to the mansion in search of thrills. Among them was Emma, a brave and enterprising young woman known for her fearlessness. Unbeknownst to the group, they soon stumbled upon a cursed bottle of Coca-Cola that they had been hiding for years. As they explored the crumbling mansion, a cold breeze swept through the corridors, causing Emma's skin to feel uncomfortable. With each step, a strange silence enveloped them, broken only by their muffled whispers. In a forgotten corner of the mansion, among layers of dust and debris, they found a secret compartment. In this secret room, lit by a single ray of moonlight, there was a cursed bottle of Coca-Cola. It didn't look like any ordinary bottle decorated with strange symbols engraved on its glass. Emma, driven by her curiosity, reached out and took it, ignoring the dark force that was dormant inside. As the group continued their research, they were overcome by a sense of foreboding. They heard whispers echoing through the corridors, their voices filled with grief and despair. The mansion seemed to come alive, its walls breathing malice. And yet Emma clung to the bottle, unknowingly becoming the receptacle of an ancient curse. Night had fallen, casting long shadows that danced on the walls. One by one, inexplicable events began to occur in the group. Objects moved by themselves, and ghostly figures appeared in the corner of their field of vision, disappearing whenever they turned to look. Fear took possession of their hearts, and they realized that they had awakened something much more sinister than they could have imagined. Emma, the unwitting bearer of the curse, was the victim of incessant nightmares. Every night she was tormented by visions of the tragic past of the mansion, a witness to the despair of the family that imposed the curse. The evil spirit who owned the Coca-Cola bottle was hungry for revenge, his rage was getting stronger every day. As the curse pressed harder on Emma, her friends became more and more concerned. They went on a dangerous journey to remove the curse and save her from the clutches of a vengeful spirit. Guided by ancient texts and desperately trying to find a solution, they discovered that the curse could only be lifted by returning the bottle to its resting place in the mansion. Armed with this new knowledge, the group plucked up the courage and went back to the haunted mansion. The air crackled with otherworldly energy as they made their way through the treacherous corridors, their hearts pounding in their chests. They reached the secret room, its oppressive atmosphere suppressing their resolve. With trembling hands, Emma returned the damn Coca-Cola bottle to its place. The moment he touched his resting place, the mansion shuddered, as if the very fabric of reality shuddered under the weight of the curse. The evil spirit appears, manifesting in a terrifying form, his eyes blazing with rage. But when the spirit reached out to take Emma's soul, her friends formed to protect her. Surround her by uniting their will against the darkness. In a collective outburst of defiance, they channeled their power and banished the vengeful spirit into the depths of the curse. Silence reigned in the mansion, broken only by the sound of their heavy breathing. The curse was lifted and Emma was freed from his clutches. They walked out of the mansion, forever changed because of their harrowing experience. News of their ordeal spread throughout the city, reinforcing the legends associated with the cursed Coca-Cola bottle. The mansion towered as a grim reminder of the horrors it harbored, warning anyone who dared to approach it. The story of the cursed bottle of Coca-Cola will sound from generation to generation as an obsessive reminder that some secrets are better left untold.
At the end of the dimly lit corridors of an abandoned office building was a vending machine. It was once a symbol of freshness and convenience and now radiated a sinister presence. Its once flamboyant Coca-Cola logo has faded and the mechanical hum has turned into an ominous whine. The rumor spread among the few daredevils who dared to enter the building this was no ordinary vending machine. There were ghosts. The legend said that the vending machine cost the lives of those who dared to buy a drink there. The murmurs echoed through the corridors, telling stories of unsuspecting victims attracted by the incandescent lights of the vending machine and the promise of a cold drink. They approached by carefully depositing their coins, only for their choices to turn into a scary game. One rainy night, a group of curious teenagers, Alex, Sarah and Mark, decided to check the rumors about themselves. Driven by a mixture of skepticism and thirst for thrills, they dared to enter the abandoned building, armed with flashlights and a handful of coins. When they approached the vending machine, they had a bad feeling. The air became heavy and the atmosphere became strangely cold. Their hands were shaking as they inserted their coins into the coin slot. The vending machine shivered to life and its dimly lit screen flashed, showing a selection of soft drinks. Sarah hesitated for a moment before choosing her drink. When she pressed the corresponding button, a series of clicks and buzzes sounded from inside the machine. The sound was getting louder, merging with the howling of the wind outside. Suddenly the car shook, frightened the group. The soda can chosen by Sarah was ejected with force, flying away like a projectile. He flew into the air, barely hit in the head, and crashed into the wall behind her, splashing a sticky liquid on the floor. Trembling, she turned to her friends, who were also shocked by the inexplicable behavior of the vending machine. Determined to find the truth, Alex took the next step forward. With a beating heart, he made his choice and held his breath. The machine responded with a cacophony of squeaks and groans. Then, with a sudden force, the jar flew away at a frightening speed, hitting Alex on his arm and making him scream in pain. Mark's eyes widened in fear when he realized that they had fallen into a terrifying trap. They could not escape from this confused game in which they had unwittingly become involved. But he could not leave his friends alone with their fate. With steely determination, Mark approached the vending machine, ignoring the growing feeling of fear. Gathered with spirit, he inserted his coins and made his choice. While the machine was processing his request, a terrible silence reigned in the room. The lights flickered, casting frightening shadows on the walls. Mark's heart was breaking as he prepared for the inevitable. With a strong push, the vending machine launched its latest attack. In 1997, he was appointed Director of Photography of the National Institute of Photography and Photography of the National Institute of Photography and Photography of the National Institute of Photography. But the car was not finished yet. He was shaking and shaking, the ground under their feet was shaking. The room grew darker and darker as the frightening glow of the machine intensified, throbbing like an angry heart. Suddenly, the front panel of the vending machine opened, revealing the swirling abyss of darkness inside. An obsessive voice emerges from the depths, whispering in an icy tone. "You invaded my possessions in search of reinforcements. Now I will present the rights to what belongs to me in law." Fear swept over the Trinity when they discovered that they had grown up in the place, unable to flee. A dark void inside a vending machine. The machine began to stretch and deform, revealing a grotesque figure, a creature from another world, half a man, half a machine, with bright red eyes and metal limbs. With each step, the creature approached, its footsteps gave a sinister echo. "Your thirst will be quenched, but not the sweet taste you desire," he mocked, and in his voice sounded an icy mixture of machine and supernatural. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, a sudden surge of courage overtook Mark. He remembered something, a rumor passed down from generation to generation about a haunted vending machine. If someone shouts a particular phrase, it will remove the curse and release the spirits locked inside. Gathering all his bravery, Mark shouted, "In the name of liberation, I am freeing you." His words echoed around the room, filling the air with energy. The vending machine shuddered, emitting a deafening scream that echoed through the building. From within, a dazzling light burst out, engulfing the Trinity. When their vision cleared up, they found themselves in an empty corridor. The phantom vending machine has disappeared, leaving only a faint trace of its sinister presence. Returning to a safe place, the Trinity could not help but feel a mixture of relief and awe. They survived a terrible ordeal and survived to tell about it. They understood that it was better not to reveal certain secrets and that certain objects had a power beyond the reach of understanding. Years later, people will still tell the story of the haunted vending machine, warning others to approach it with caution or avoid it altogether. The abandoned office building remained a place of dark legends and persistent fear, a testimony to the night when 3 brave souls dared to face the supernatural and survived to tell it.
In the heart of the forgotten forest, shrouded in fog and darkness, was the lost Coca-Cola factory. Legends told about its existence, hidden from the prying eyes of the whole world. Curiosity attracted many adventurers to its obsessive aura, but no one returned unscathed. This is the chilling story of a group of daredevils who dared to set foot on the territory of a mysterious factory, unconsciously causing a nightmare that will change their lives forever. It was a moonless night, and in the air a terrible silence was heavy. 5 friends, James, Sarah, Mark, Emily and Alex, gathered around the fire, their faces lit up by dancing flames. They were avid explorers, always looking for thrills of the unknown. Their eyes shone with a mixture of excitement and bad foreboding as they planned their expedition. There were rumors that the factory had a dark history, hinting at sinister experiments carried out by the famous Coca-Cola beverage company. The temptation to reveal his secrets was irresistible. Armed with flashlights, backpacks and an insatiable curiosity, the group embarked on its dangerous journey. The dense forest enveloped them, casting elongated shadows that played with their conscience an evil joke. The air grew colder as they ventured into the forest, focusing only on the faint glow of the moon. Suddenly, a dilapidated structure appeared out of the darkness. In front of them was a long-abandoned factory. Once a shiny red and white sign with the inscription Coca-Cola, now faded and undermined by the weather. The windows were broken, which allowed ivy and moss to penetrate into the abandoned building. The rusty door opened with a creak, as if inviting intrepid explorers inside. Not at all embarrassed by the frightening sight, they gently crossed the threshold and found themselves in the abyss. The interior was a maze of abandoned mechanisms covered with layers of dust and cobwebs. The stagnant smell of decomposition permeated the air, and the silence was deafening. Sarah's flashlight was flashing, casting frightening shadows on the walls. James, the leader of the group, led them forward, his voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and fear. Continuing their research, they came across a hidden laboratory hidden in a forgotten corner of the factory. Along the shelves lined with bottles, each of which contains a mysterious liquid. Intrigued, Alex opened the bottle and took a sip. The liquid burned his throat with supernatural power. Suddenly, the factory is enveloped in a threatening aura. The arrangements with a hum came to life, emitting an obsessive symphony of rattling and moaning. The walls seemed to throb as if they were alive. The group panicked as they desperately searched for a way out, but only to be trapped. There was a sinister presence, a ghostly figure shrouded in darkness. He whispered their names, and each syllable gave himself an otherworldly chill. The vision turned out to be exhausted by the scientist's mind, absorbed in his own experiments. He has been locked up in a factory for decades, his soul is still attached to this abandoned place. Horrified, the group ran through corridors that seemed to move and change, taking them deep into a maze-like factory. They were tormented by hallucinations and disturbing visions, a stream of Coca-Cola flooding the halls, twisted creatures made of liquid sugar and effervescence, and the painful screams of those who suffered such a fate. The other 3 were continuing their mad quest for an exit. Mark, driven to madness by merciless horrors, disappeared in the dark, leaving James and Sarah alone. Exhausted and scared, they stumbled upon the control room, where they found a switch that seemed to power the entire plant. Driven by despair, they turned it over in the hope of stopping the nightmare that was engulfing them. In the last desperate effort, James poured a can of Coca-Cola on the floor, hoping to distract their torturers. When the effervescent liquid cascaded into the room, a dazzling light burst out, engulfing the evil spirits. The factory again plunged into silence, its dark secrets were locked up. James and Sarah came out of the factory, beaten and scarred, changed forever because of the horrors they witnessed. The abandoned Coca-Cola factory was idle again, and this instructive story was etched in their memory. They vowed never to talk about their experience, so as not to be hit by the curse of the factory. Only those who are stupid enough to search for its dark secrets would dare to enter its abandoned rooms, and they would soon discover that some mysteries were better not to touch.